Hi, Taurus. I am so excited to talk to you about Saturn. Why? A couple of reasons. The first reason is because y'all just experienced a Saturn transit in your 8th house, which is where Saturn just went for me. I'm a Gemini. So, and I'm already... Oh, I'm already feeling it. I'm already feeling it. So really, really excited to kiki with y'all about what you just went through and what I'm about to go through. I'm also excited to talk to y'all because, so I don't have a lot of Taurians in my life. I am an air sign. I tend to stay away from earth signs. Y'all are doing the most. And also, I think, something that I don't think a lot of air signs talk about when it comes to earth signs is like, y'all are really attractive to us in a kind of terrifying way, because we see you, we are up in the air and we're like, la, 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 la. And when we see air signs, we see the potential to be grounded by someone. And I think earth signs tend to find air signs really exhausting, because like y'all need your grounding energy for yourself. And we like want it from you. And then when we get it, we tend to get bored with y'all, which is so fucking rude. Maybe not all air signs. The bored with y'all thing is much more like a Gemini thing, because we're rude like that. So, but all this to say, that kind of grounding energy, I feel like even though Saturn is ruled by Capricorn and you are ruled by Venus, I still feel like there is a lot of Saturnic energy in your sign. In fact, the only person that I maybe ever was in love with, I don't know that I've ever actually properly been in love, but the closest I've been to being in love was with a Taurus. And part of what I found so attractive about this Taurus was actually this kind of Saturnic energy. It doesn't make any damn sense, girl. But all that to say, I'm really excited to talk to y'all because I feel like you are this like opposite side to the air signs, and we kind of like tend to not hang out a lot because we do have opposing energies. But I kind of live for y'all though. Like I secretly live for earth signs. Don't tell anyone. And I secretly live for Taurians, because I mean, you guys are ruled by the planet of Venus. Like, use a sexy motherfucking sign. Use attractive. We like it. We like it. I might be a little bit more travel oriented than a Taurus, but I mean, the older I get, the more I just want to lay in bed. So all that to say, if you're a Taurus, call me. Let's watch Netflix sometime. Look, now that I've talked about our relationship, let's talk about you. So let's back up and talk about Saturn, for those of y'all who don't know. So Saturn takes about 30 years total to transit through all 12 houses of the zodiac. So you just mostly for the better part of the 3 years, so from the end of 2014 until the end of 2017, it was in the sign of Sagittarius. And for you, Taurus, that is your 8th house. Right at the end of 2017, it moved into Capricorn, which is your 9th house. So in your 8th house, I'll start by saying, I think compared to what you just went through with the 8th house transit, this will actually be a little bit smoother for you, because it's a little bit more of your speed. And here's why. The 8th house is a house it's a weird house. Like, it's hard to describe what the 8th house is about, because it can be about so many different things. Sex, death, intimacy, rebirth, like all of these really deep kind of mystical things are ruled by the 8th house. So in some ways, like, as I said, y'all are a very sexy sign. So like in some ways the 8th house is a good energy for you. But I think because there's so much emphasis on rebirth, this was probably a challenging transit for y'all, because y'all don't like change so much. Like y'all are pretty happy just like staying steady where you are, like you're pretty happy out on the ranch. Like you ain't trying to go to the city. Like you ain't trying to travel the world. So I think for a lot of you, this was probably a little bit challenging. What I will say, to talk more about Saturn's energy, Saturn will come into your house. You know, as I said, it changes houses about every 3 years. And it will leave you with gifts by challenging you and basically just giving you a hard ass time. You know, it's sort of like the drill sergeant of the planets. It comes in, it sits your ass down, it makes you do the work, it creates a lot of challenges for you. It is tough love. It is a tough love planet, right? This is not Cho Mama Venus, okay? This is a tough love planet, but emphasis on love though. But emphasis on love because Saturn does come in to teach you lessons that help you to better self-actualize, that help to elevate you spiritually, mentally, emotionally. You know, the benefits are there, the rewards are there, but you have to put in work. Now, you know, y'all can work when you want to, right? Like Tauruses are like y'all are like that. I think Geminis are similar in that way too. Like you will do the work when you feel like it. But you can also be a little bit prone to sloth, right? Like I said, you like to hang out on the ranch. You're like, I'll just be on my porch, like shooting a shotgun off while drinking my tea, okay? No shade. But all that to say, you know, what work you put into these Saturn transits will determine the rewards that you sow from those transits. Now, regardless of how much work you put in, I do always like to tell people you will still get a reward from Saturn because Saturn just puts you through so much. There's no way you're not working. There's no way you're not working. It's like Saturn makes you run 10 miles a day. Even if you're not busting ass, running as hard as you can, as fast as you can, like you're still running 10 miles a day. You're still gonna get benefits out of that exercise, right? That's kind of what a Saturn transit is. So for your 8th house, you know, I think for y'all, a lot of y'all, this could have been a challenging transit. But, you know, I do think that Saturn does kind of match your energy in many ways, Taurus. It's kind of like a stern, fatherly planet, and I think that that's how a lot of Tauruses can be. So I don't think the energy shift was perhaps as jolting for y'all as it might be for signs like myself. But I do think that just by virtue of what the 8th house rules, this could have been a really uncomfortable transit for y'all. Death, sex, money, intimacy, rebirth. I mean, things that are icky, man. Things that require you to go deep. And it's not like you can't go deep, Taurus. You absolutely can. You can be real motherfucking deep. Y'all can be real deep. That's what makes you so sexy. But you can also be very... trying to think of the best way to say this. Not aloof. It's not quite the word I'm looking for. But you do have a tendency to kind of like pivot away from the deeper stuff, right? You do have a tendency to kind of do that. You aren't a sign that necessarily pushes yourself to your limit unless you're absolutely forced to. Maybe that's the best way to say it. And I feel like this 8th house Saturn transit did push you in that way. So you might be feeling some kind of way about it. But look, that's what just happened. That left your 8th house at the end of December. Now it's in your 9th house in the sign of Capricorn, which is your sister sign. I think that's actually quite auspicious for y'all. I actually think that will be complementary energy for you. You know, your 9th house is also a house that I think has rules, things that you aren't necessarily drawn to, like travel and higher education. Not that you aren't drawn to higher education, but it's a house of expansion, of mental expansion. And while Tauruses can often be really, really intelligent, you know, like, as I said before, y'all do have a tendency to kind of like stay on the ranch. Like you stay within the confines of your little fenced area, okay? And the 9th house is gonna challenge you to go beyond that. That being said, with Saturn here, it's asking you to approach that kind of external expansion in a very practical, very structured, regimented way, which is something I think that Taurians can appreciate. I think y'all can get down on that. Like, you guys like rules, right? You guys like structure. You're down with that. You like knowing where the fence of your ranch is, right? Like, you like knowing where things end and you begin. That's a thing that you're into, right? So I think doing this, you know, approaching the 9th house with the Saturnic energy is not necessarily a bad thing for y'all. It's not a bad look on you. But you still might feel that resistance because you do like the safety of what is familiar to you. So I think for y'all, that will be the big challenge for this Saturn transit in your 9th, is letting yourself be open. Girl, leave the ranch. Take your little bull ass and get off the ranch. It's okay. The ranch will still be there. It's fine. You know, so I hate when people say things like, be open, because it's such a meaningless phrase. Girl, I fight with my therapist about it all the time. She's like, be open. I'm like, what is that? Like, what are you even actually saying to me right now? But I think what that means in practical terms, and we know you love practical terms, Taurus, when you feel that, like, we know what resistance feels like, right? It's different in everyone, like where you feel it in your body. I feel it in my stomach. When I don't like something, or if something feels uncomfortable, I feel it right in the gut, like right here. Boop. Some other people might feel it in their temples. You might feel it in your extremities, like a tingling. Everybody feels it differently. But we, like, by the time you're an adult, like, you usually know if you're in tune with yourself when you're experiencing resistance to something. If not on a mental level, you can usually feel it on a physical level. So what I think you can take from this reading in terms of being open is when you feel that sense of resistance, I want you to sit with it, like meditate, like take a couple minutes to breathe, think about it, and ask yourself if you're resisting because this is bad and this is dangerous and this doesn't affirm your value, or if it's just because it's new and it's different and that freaks you out. And be honest with yourself about that, Taurus. And if the answer is the latter, then I need you to push through. And we know you can push through, boo. You a bull. You got them horns. We know you can push through. We know it. We know you have that ability. So, you know, audit yourself. When you feel, when new things arise for you that would allow and enable you to expand the way you think about things, or the way that you handle things, or the way you respond to things over the next 3 years, don't turn away from that. You know, I'm not saying if you have a bad feeling about something, I'm not telling you to push through and go do it. Like, always trust your gut. I'm saying that, like, you need to be able to discern over the next 3 years when you are resisting something because it's bad, and when you're resisting something because it's new and different. Because for y'all, you can often conflate those two things, and they are not to always be conflated. You dig? Does that make sense, Taurus? The 9th house, what are we ruling here? Education, travel. I think there is a sense that the spiritual can be manifest into the material here. So the way that I'm seeing this transit play out for y'all is like all that shit that went down in the 8th house, let it be healed by the 9th house for you, okay? You might have gone through a whole lot. Like, the 8th house can be so many different things. You might have lost people that you loved. You might have lost ways of being, ways of thinking that you had centered your identity around, and that could have been really jolting. You could have, I mean, it could be so many things, but there's a sense in the 8th house transit that, like, you really had to look at these very deep, dark things, and Saturn kind of made you cut things out that weren't working for you, or straight up just took them from you. Saturn was like, look, if you ain't gonna do the work, I'm gonna do the work for you then. So let the 9th house be a place where you heal from that, Taurus. Because you might be a little tired. You might be a little bit tired right now. So if you did the work in the 8th house, you know, I think there was a lot of letting go that needed to happen for you in that 8th house. And like I said, what that was about specifically is going to be very personal to each individual, whether that's relationships, whether that's careers, whether that's, I mean, that could be so many different things. A partner, like whatever. If you did the work and you let it go, which you may not have done because you're a Taurus, but if you did that damn work, like the ninth house is going to step in and heal the gaping wound that is left behind, basically. But if you find yourself, Taurus, if I'm talking to you right now and you have a weird feeling in your gut or wherever it is that you feel them feelings, because I just said the words you were supposed to let things go and you didn't, then like you might want to do that immediately. Like if there is a relationship, I keep thinking relationship, it doesn't need to be relationship, but I think I'm thinking that just because of what the 8th house rules, I think that tends to play out in terms of really personal and intimate relationships. It doesn't necessarily have to be romantic. You know, intimacy is not just for the sexually involved, right? You can be intimate with your friends, you can be intimate with your family, right? If you are feeling weird and guilty as you're listening to this, what did you not let go that you need to let go of? God, like Tauruses, I'm thinking of a few Tauruses I know right now, and I'm just like, y'all do this. Y'all do it. It is to me part of, hi, 9 of Cups. It is to me, we'll pull a couple more. It is to me ironic that I find that attractive in y'all. Your resistance to change, I think I find really compelling because I cannot stick with anything. Ooh, the Magician. Boo, Magician's my bae. The Magician and I are dating. I don't know if you know this, but we're like a thing. Don't be jealous. But I find that really attractive in y'all because I'm flighty and I'm all over the damn place. But so all that to say, like your resistance to change, that is the dark side of your stability. Stability in and of itself is not a bad thing, but when you take anything to either extreme, it becomes negative because then it's out of your control. It becomes an impulse. It becomes something that you do without thinking and without reflecting, and that's usually never a good thing. So all that to say, I'm not ragging on your craving for stability. I'm kind of into it in a way that I'll never be able to relate to, but it can be bad for y'all, Taurus, because it will stop you from making changes that need to be made. Which is kind of a shame because y'all have a lot to give. Y'all got so much to give, right? You have a lot to give people in your relationship. So, you know, the way that I think about it, again, I keep focusing on relationships. I don't know why. And again, I'm not just talking about romantic relationships. I'm talking about any human relationships you have. But think about it this way. When you hold on to a relationship, friendship, whatever it is, with someone that you should not be holding on to, that you know you shouldn't be holding on to because whatever that place in your body that feels bad feelings gets activated when you're in it, then you are blocking your energy from going to someone who is deserving of your love. And because y'all can love in such a deeply caring way, you are literally denying someone else in the world this beautiful love that you have the ability to give because you refuse to let go of the people who don't deserve it. So you're not just hurting yourself, Taurus. You're hurting the people who should be in relation with you, who you can't let into your life, who you can't manifest into your life because you're letting the shitty people eat up all your energy and love, okay? I'm putting it in those terms for you, Taurus, because I know, like, y'all can self-sacrifice, you know? You know what? Fuck it. We'll read them. These all came out. Devil in reverse. What did I just say? Use it free to change. Hi. Devil in reverse. We've got the 6 of Wands in reverse. Wow. Literally everything I was just saying. And the 6 of Cups in reverse. But to finish that thought, you know, y'all can be very self-sacrificing. You are willing to take on other people's weight. You're the bull, right? You can handle it. Nothing's going to break your back. So if it helps you to understand your self-destructive behavior, in relation to the people who then suffer because of it, I think that for y'all might be a little bit more palatable. You don't have to just worry about yourself. When you make bad decisions for yourself, you're hurting other people too, Taurus. Okay? And I think for some of y'all, that is a message that might land more strongly than if I was just telling you to do it for yourself. Does that make sense? I lit. So let's see. First we pulled, I'm taking a peeky weeky. Yeah. So first we pulled the Nine of Cups, and then not long after came out the Magician. So the Nine of Cups is just boo abundance. Hi. And like, boo, this is a Taurus in my mind. This is just like a sexy ass dude who's like, yeah, I got that shit done. Yeah. I made this. I like, look at the fruits of my labor. Oh, I worked for that. I certainly did. And you know what? I'm smug about it. The Magician. Manifestation. Right there, right? Manifesting. So manifestation is such a broad term. Like, he's taking the spiritual, he's taking the liminal, right? And he's making it material, which I think, you know, like Tauruses can do pretty well if they're not afraid of change. You know, this, to me too, this reverse Six of Cups, what was I just saying when I was talking about somebody who's depleting you? Anytime you see a cups reversed, I always read that, you know, like, if you, what happens if you reverse a cup, girl? Everything in it. Almond milk tends to separate and it looks really gross, but it's delicious. Sorry about that. It falls out. You reverse a cup and what's in the cup comes out, right? So lack of abundance when cups are in reverse. Each card is a little bit different, but that's sort of just like a general way to read cups cards in reverse. And this is, you know, a card of like really beautiful love and partnership and just caring. That, like I was saying, like how Taurus, y'all are really good lovers. You can really care deeply about people and you show that care very well, and you're caretakers. Like, you like to take care of people. You're kind of like a very paternal sign. So having this in reverse, girl, also the reverse Six of Wands, you know, like stagnation and victory, like you not getting where you need to go. This is a sign of victory, okay? We've got this in reverse here. If you keep resisting changes, as you are wont to do, you know, this is where you're going to end up. You're not going to be in a powerful and victorious place. And you're not going to be, your love is going to be subverted into something ugly, into something that other people take advantage of. You know, also worth noting, the devil upright is the sign of Capricorn. Or excuse me, is the card of Capricorn, which is where Saturn is right now. So don't fuck this up. Don't turn this upside down. Okay? I'm thinking, a dangerous pastime, I know. I'm looking at the Nine of Cups because I feel like this reading is like two separate readings. It's like these cards together are like, if you do this right, and these cards together are like, if you do this wrong. Because Capricorn is a sign that deals a lot with money and value, and not just financial value, okay? Like, understand, when I say value, I am talking about your emotional value, I am talking about your spiritual value, I'm talking about the whole damn thing, okay? And y'all have a lot of value. I mean, we all do, right? Value is inherent. We are all worthy people. If you were born, you are God's creation and you are worthy. But like I was saying before, like Taurians bring so much to the table, okay? So don't let that be taken advantage of. Don't let that, you can be this guy, okay? If you do this transit right, you can be him, okay? It's just gonna take a little bit of work and a little bit of spiritual work. And you know what? Spiritual work is not comfortable and it's not safe and familiar, Taurus. And you just have to deal with that for this I mean, you have to deal with that forever. But if you want to get the fruits of your labor out of this transit, then that's the labor that you need to do, is to be to expand, to open your mind, right? Stay open to the powers of manifestation. And when you stay open, understand that when I say stay open, I don't mean let everything in, okay? You still need to exercise judiciousness in what you do, in what you take on, in the relationships you form, etc., okay? I'm not saying let everything in. I'm saying quite the opposite of that, okay? And that's what I'm talking about here. And here, like, y'all can tend to go with the flow a little too much. You really can. You're a very strong and powerful sign, but you don't tend to disrupt traditions. You don't tend to disrupt the flow of the river. Like, you kind of just go with it, right? I mean, you're very traditional people, and so I think you can often have a sense of like, well, who am I to disrupt this? You might have to disrupt it, B. You might have to disrupt it over the next few years if you want to get the most out of this transit. I want to talk to a Taurus. Are you a Taurus? Talk to me. I want to know more about how that 8th house transit was for you. And I do think because it rules, that house rules so many things, I think it can be so different depending on the individual. Because I'm already going through, I've been in this transit for, what, 2 weeks? And I'm already going through like weird shit with like my sexuality and my intimacy. And even though this isn't ruled by the 8th house, sort of like how those things relate to my purpose, my greater purpose in the world. And I just want to know what y'all are going through. Sorry, I'm thinking again. This is going to be a long video. There's something about this 9 of Cups that just keeps sticking to me. It's his crossed arms. Smug, successful, but still closed off, yeah? And then you have this guy who's like open, right? We go from this to this, right? So I think this can also, this isn't just a card showing that like, yeah, you can have abundance if you play your cards right. But it's also like, you will, in order to manifest, you have to remain open. Okay? Don't close up like this, Taurus. Don't do that, okay? Don't do that. That's, I think, essentially why I find Taurus so attractive. I'm like, you're emotionally distant. I love you. So don't be this as much, or, you know, like, lessen this. This is, I mean, like, if this is what you are, like, I'm not telling you to stop being what you are, okay? Not at all. But, like, just challenging some of those more static pieces and rigid pieces of your behavior and personality, Taurus. Because, as I said before, the 9th house is a house of expansion. Yeah, I think these 2 houses back to back were maybe hard for you, Taurus. Like, both of them back to back. I think the 9th house is really going to challenge you. But I think it will be good because, again, like, this is stuff that Taurus, like, we all have our own unique attributes as different sun signs, right? And I think, like, this transit is going to directly challenge some of the things that constitute what it means to have Taurus in your sun sign. So it will be challenging. It will be for your benefit. Saturn is always, always, always only doing this for your benefit. And that's something that you need to remember. I think Saturn, I was just discussing this, I think in maybe the Pisces video, I was talking about how Saturn is, to me, represents this beautiful piece of the universe that is sort of like that tough love piece where every time you fuck up, the universe keeps giving you more opportunities to not fuck up. So that's why you tend to, like, when you know people who have, whether it's in their love life or their career, like, who tend to just, like, things are just, like, always going wrong for them. We all know people in our life like that, right? Like, every time you talk to them, it's like their life is just in shambles. The reason it's always in shambles is because the universe, God, whatever you believe in, keeps giving them opportunities to make a better choice, and they keep failing to do so. Which, I don't know, like, if this is what you are, like, I'm not telling you to stop being what you are, okay? Not at all. But I think it will be good because, again, like, this is stuff that Taurus, like, we all have our own unique attributes as different sun signs, right? And I think, like, this when you're the person going through that, that can seem really shitty. It seems like you're just getting pummeled, you're getting hit while you're down. But the truth is, like, it's actually a very loving mechanism of the universe, because the universe is like, I'm only doing this because I want you to pass this test. I am literally giving you unlimited chances to pass this test. Just pass the damn test. Choose the right choice, okay? So that's, I feel like Saturn is a representation of that. And I love that. So I think even though Saturn can be a drag in many ways, it is ultimately for a good purpose. It's not like, whereas I think of Mars as being a planet that just comes in to fuck shit up just for the sake of fucking shit up, I think Saturn is actually a very instructive planet. And that's why I think of it and describe it as being incredibly karmic. It's not easy, but it is there to teach you lessons that you are like preordained to learn, basically. And what that looks like is going to be dependent for each person, right? Everyone has their own karma. But it's going to shake you up and it's going to challenge you. And I know you might not like that, Taurus, but you're just going to have to deal with it, okay? This is getting way too long. I didn't realize I was going to go so deep with this. I also like... Let me stop. To me, the big thing from this reading, don't fear the change. Because the more you resist the change, the more you're going to block your blessings, okay? And get your money, get your abundance, but don't cross your arms, right? Stay open to the powers of manifestation. Be judicious, though. Yeah, important, okay? And parting words for you, Taurus, don't take the path of least resistance. As I said, y'all can do that sometimes. And very rarely is it the most fruitful or the most divine path. You know, your mission in life, whatever it is for you, is not going to be easy. It's not supposed to be easy, right? Struggle is part of the initiation process. Proving to God or the universe that you have what it takes to fill out your purpose. So don't fall into that path of least resistance, because that's not what is being asked of you from God, basically. God doesn't want to know that you can take the easiest path. God wants to know that you can take the hard path, boo. I mean, I'm not like super versed in the Bible. I'm not, you know, I don't identify as Christian or Jewish. But, you know, from the books I have read in the Bible and from the characters I have studying in the Bible, because I did study the Bible in school. I don't know how that, California public school, we read the Bible, don't ask. You know, like the stories are never like, and then they just like had a nice day and went off. The stories are always like, and then they had to escape a city that was burning acid rain. Like it's always this trial that you have to go through, right? So rise to the challenge, Taurus. You can do it. You just have to force yourself to get through those mental blocks you have. Those mental blocks of like, this is new and I don't like it. Sorry, get over it. I don't know what to say. Get more Geminis in your life. All right? And call me sometime because I think you're cute. Okay? Later.